Good evening. This is Foti. I'm an Orthodox Christian with a USB microphone. And tonight I wanted to discuss the topic of reproductive rights, namely abortion. So, as you may be aware, I would hope the United States recently had a presidential election earlier this month. I'm recording this, it's the end of November, week of Thanksgiving. And yeah, I wanted to discuss abortion. So I want to talk about a couple of different things about it in my perspective. So first things first, I just want to say that regardless of if you're pro or anti-abortion, I don't think anybody likes the idea of abortion. It's not a very pleasant thing. You know, even people that do go through with it's not really a pleasant experience. It's not something that people celebrate. At least that I'm aware of. And maybe there's you know, some outliers, but for the most part, it's a pretty sad thing. So I just want to get that out of the way. So the matter of abortion is not so much people love it or hate it. It's more that it's a right, it's a necessary, it's a necessity, in many situations. So for purely practical reasons, you know, someone could get an abortion because the child maybe will die in the womb, so they got to carry like a dead, you know, fetus within them. This can have very disastrous effect on the mother's life. Additionally, there are women or people that are the victims of sexual assault, and so they did not choose to get pregnant. Why should the crime of another person, which makes them the victim, further harm them later when they have already suffered enough? And I think the last point I want to mention in regards to, no, not even talking about theologically or morality wise, is, this is a right that, many women have now lost in this country. And I don't really understand, it just seems strange to me how many uh, people that are not personally affected by abortion, you know, namely men, get to have a say in what women do with their bodies. It seems a little backwards to me. So yeah, that's that for the more practical stuff. Now I understand that many people are anti-abortion. Like I said, no one's really like pro, like they love abortion. Like I said, it's more a right. It's, I mentioned some contexts where it's necessary, but some people, they don't even, that doesn't phase them. They're like, doesn't matter. It can even be my child or my own wife or mother or relative that was sexually assaulted and now has to give birth to a child that was the product of rape. I'm still against it. To which I say, at least you're consistent. But I don't know if many people are that consistent. If it affects them personally. But the thing I want to address now is, the idea that if we ban something, make it against the law, that it'll go away. Now, if we go back, not too far back, but if we just go back about 100 years ago in America, we had prohibition, the banning of alcohol and Just because it was banned didn't mean that suddenly alcohol, went away. Instead, what happened was a black market formed. A bunch of criminal organizations began, producing, distributing, selling alcohol, illegally. There was no, oversight or regulation, and that led to a lot of crime. Think of like Al Capone and other individuals and groups such as him. So if we want to actually get rid of abortion, outright banning it then doesn't seem to work. People are going to want to get abortions regardless. All it'll do, as we've seen in the past, is that people will find other ways to go about it. They may go for more unsafe methods. They may find people that'll do it for a price that are not medically trained per se, or maybe they'll go to another country. There's many ways that they can go about it, but the idea of having a baby, especially if a mother can't afford it or really does not want the child for whatever reason, or it'll could cost them their life. I think just the threat of that will cause a person to find a way to get it done. All we're doing is making it harder, more dangerous, and in my opinion, we're going backwards. Now, another aspect I wanted to mention is the theological aspect. Now, Jesus never mentioned abortion. That was not a big thing, I guess, to be mentioned in the Gospels. Um, I think the only time abortion is directly mentioned is in the Old Testament in Numbers, where they provide a recipe, I guess, on a concoction that will induce an abortion. So, I find that pretty interesting. But this kind of this kind of opens the door to interpretation. Many people consider life to begin at conception. Others believe life begins at birth. Regardless of where you stand on that, um, there's not one correct answer. This is like a philosophical question. It's like an unknowable question. It can't be answered, or it can be answered, but there's no definitive right answer, so to speak. Um, so because of that, it's strange to me that many people consider this, the one issue that impacted their votes in the recent election. So there are many people that are just single issue voters, and I can't really understand just caring about only one thing, at the expense of everything else. It's mentioned many times in the Bible, from Jesus' own words, from the apostles, namely Paul, that the most important virtue, the most important thing, is love. If you condense all the commandments, they're basically only two: love God and love your neighbor. And if we can't love our neighbor, who we see, who we can talk to, who we can, touch, who's in the same plane of existence as us, who is also finite in flesh and is going through the same life that we are. Well, not the same life, but we're living in the same time and under the same restraints. If we can't even love that person, who is more like than us than not, how can we love God? who we can't see, who is in many ways not like us. So it all goes back to love. Without love, everything else, there's no foundation. We have nothing without love. So I say all that to say that abortion, if you really want to get rid of it, if you really dislike abortion that much, the best way to lower it, because you'll never fully stop it, but to lower the chances of abortion from happening, the best thing is education and providing the proper resources for people to prevent unwanted pregnancies in the first place. That way, there will be no need for abortion. Now, unfortunately, the Conservative Party, which has now become uh, pretty openly fascist, they do not value abortion. I'm sorry, they do not value education. And this is evidenced by the fact that most right wing media is very heavily propagandized to misdirect, miseducate, um, create culture war topics for people to get outraged at, things that don't affect the average person, like trans people in sports. Like who, in my opinion, like who really cares? Like I don't care that there's a trans a trans child that's on a swim team in like Colorado or something. I don't even know. It doesn't matter to me. It's such like a nothing burger. I don't understand. So, but this is what they have to talk about because the Republican Party today is just a fascist party, and fascism is a self-defeating ideology. It's fueled by nationalism, xenophobia, bigotry, often anti-Semitism, racism. All the bad stuff in like one under one name, pretty much. And that's what we're heading towards now. So it's not a matter of it's not a matter of America is going to go through some tough times ahead because we are. It's a matter of how bad it'll be. So I think the last thing I want to mention is the idea of free will. Now I'm a convert to Orthodoxy. I was not born Orthodox. I didn't even know what Orthodoxy was really until adulthood, despite literally working like right next to an Orthodox church. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have any interest in it. I was not a practicing Christian. But when I learned about it, and I read the history of the church, I did all this other stuff. It, for the first time in my life, it made me want to attend the church. Now, you could say the Holy Spirit guided me, but ultimately, it's my openness to let the Holy Spirit guide me that led me to the Orthodox Church, and that's free will. I don't believe that we're just puppets and God's our puppeteer, and we're just part of an elaborate play. We're just actors following a script that we can't deviate from. I don't believe that, and that is also a core tenet of Orthodox Christianity and most forms of Christianity that aren't Calvinist in nature or Reformed theology. Um, so we value people, we value free agency because ultimately, if someone has to be forced to become a Christian or forced to do something, well then it's not really genuine, right? You want someone that actually wants to be a Christian, that wants to do the right thing. So if you're forcing someone, if you're limiting their decisions, you're not actually creating a better society. You're creating one that's just it's almost like a parent that wants their child to only do what they want them to do without giving them the freedom to make mistakes or the freedom to just be themselves. And I've known parents like that. Many of my friends growing up, they had parents like that. And lo and behold, many of those children grew up to be adults that grew to resent their families, disregarded their teachings, left the church, embraced all types of things that their parents will be abhorred by. So it doesn't work. That's not how you raise a child. It's not. You have to love them, and I don't see any love in the type of ideology that is being pushed by the fundamentalist Christians, the conservative party, Republicans, fascists. There's no love there. It's only hatred. Pro life is an oxymoron. It's a contradiction. It's really just anti woman. That's really what it is. If you're going to punish a mother or a woman or a doctor that could perform abortions, a prison, or the death penalty, how pro life are you really? How can you say you care about a fetus and treat it like a human life, and then once it's born, you provide absolutely no care for it once it becomes a human child? You want to cut, affordable care. You want to cut social services, social security. You want to cut all these social safety nets that we have, and we don't really have that many in America. America's doesn't really care about its people. At least the average person. So all these things seem very dishonest to me. All these reasons for being against abortion and wanting to outlaw abortion. So I guess all I can say is it's gonna be rough coming up, in this new year. So I was sad on the day it was announced, that Wednesday, that Trump won and America chose fascism. Not the first time, when Trump won. We can't point to, oh, people didn't know, Hillary was bad. We can't say that now. Now we know what he's like. We know that the economy cratered under him. We know that because of him, many people died because of COVID because he did not take it seriously. He did the bare minimum. He's inept as a politician, as a moral person, and I don't understand how him and the Republican Party in general have basically tricked or become the party of Christians. It blows my mind. But now we can't say that. Now people know what he's like, and they still voted for him, often against their own self-interest. Many people are going to suffer. Democracy only works if people are educated and care. But I see people vote. Like I said, they're single issue voters. Sometimes they're no issue voters. They pick the person that they think was funny or charismatic or whatever thing that's not really important. People don't really know. And part of that is, our crumbling education system. Part of that is the propaganda being force fed down our throats every day. You might just be on YouTube and then suddenly you're, recommended a video by like some right wing media person. So it's it's hard out here. The average reading comprehension for Americans these days is at about a sixth grade level, which is very it's very scary, and it's difficult for people that are uneducated, miseducated, misinformed to make good decisions. So it's that's really it. Democracy is very fragile, and it's not looking really good for us right now in America. Well, at this point, I just realized I didn't finish my thought before. So I was sad on election day, you know, after hearing what happened, and I let myself be sad that day. But then after that, I realized, like I often do, that I can't be sad forever, even though I have many reasons to be sad. But I also have many reasons to be happy, in spite of all the stuff that I've said. You know, um, joy is an act of resistance. So I want to be happy. I want to have faith that we'll make it through. I want to have hope that that there's a future for next generations that isn't going to be you know a hellscape. No, if it's realistic, but that's my hope. At this point, all we can do is pray, and we can do more than pray. We can also do our best to try to change the world, even in some small way. If you help one person, that's infinitely valuable. You know, uh, a human life is so important. A life you save today or help today, you know, they could do the same. So right now we have to be satisfied with small victories such as that. Um, that's really it. I hope you enjoyed me playing Pokemon TCG Pocket. I've really enjoyed that game since it came out. Uh, yeah. Maybe I'll talk about that in a future video. But I kind of wanted this channel to just be me talking about various topics regarding my journey in Orthodox Christianity and just my opinions about uh, politics and things of that nature. Anyway, I hope someone out there enjoyed my talking. Um, yeah. Well, have a good night. God bless, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Or for everyone else who doesn't celebrate, have a happy Thursday. Take care.